Yeah, of course we will. If he's bleeding us dry, I'll be bleeding us dry.
So many people tonight.
That's why I haven't heard it, you know?
I better be okay.
Private clients, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you?
The 1 minute countdown.
All right, 6 o'clock. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a reminder to silence your cell phones tonight. We'll start with roll call.
Mayor Sherman.
Here.
Councilor Gorell.
Here.
Councilor Klinkhammer.
Here.
Councilor Lundstrom.
Here.
Councilor Spradlin.
Here.
Councilor Tyree.
Here.
All right. We've all had a chance to look through the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections on the agenda tonight? If not, I would look for a motion to approve.
I move we approve the agenda for a regular meeting October 23rd, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Tyree.
Yes.
Councilor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councilor Gorell.
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. That motion passes. We've all had a chance to look through the minutes of our last meeting. Does anybody have any corrections or revisions? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Maybe approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin.
Yes.
Councilor Klinkhammer.
Yes.
Councilor Tyree.
Yes.
Councilor Gorell.
Yes.
Councilor Lundstrom.
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Visitors and delegations. We don't have any visitors. If we can do citizen comments, if any citizens are invited to speak to council on any item that does not have a public hearing scheduled. Do we have anybody here that wants to do public comments? Oh, Jenna Corbin. So let me finish reading my little spiel then.
All right.
There's a 5-minute time limit per person unless otherwise noted by the mayor. And please use your time wisely as you only get one opportunity. It's the only chance in the meeting to address council unless otherwise invited. Please note that no formal action will be taken on an item that's not on the posted agenda due to the open meeting law provision. However, they may be placed on a future posted agenda if action is required. To better assist you with questions, please submit them in writing to the city clerk and someone from staff will respond. All right.
Jeanette Corbin. I reside at 16200 County Road 28.5, Brush, Colorado. Just hopefully I can get some answers to some rumors and other things that I've been hearing here last couple weeks or so. And one of them is on Ducks Unlimited. And I know there was a meeting last year with a group of people who live out in my area about a proposal for the wetland. And I was unable to attend at the time, but the people that I did talk to that were able to go, they had some questions and answers, and then there was a promise that the Ducks Unlimited would get back to these individuals and discuss more of what their plans were going to be in the future. No one's heard anything back. On the minutes of August the 8th, 2023, I looked at those, and Lonnie had provided an update on Ducks Unlimited plans to move forward. Have no idea what those were about. And then on September 25th, Lonnie had said in the minutes that they were going to go forward. The other week, last week, maybe a week and a half ago, there was a group of people out there. A neighbor had questioned why they were out there. They were contractors for Ducks Unlimited. They said Monty wasn't able to attend to be out there with them, so I have no clue what they were doing and what their plans are. I would like to have answers to those questions as what's going forward with Ducks Unlimited. I have looked everywhere. I can't find any information, any resource online, so I'd like some answers on that. The other thing, Monarch Energy, there was rumor that we were gonna have a solar farm put out there, where we were living. Come to find out, which Monarch Energy, first time I ever heard of Monarch Energy was in the minutes of September 11th, dated 2023, that the council was working on an ordinance with Monarch Energy. What kind of ordinance? I have no clue, couldn't find any information on that. An executive session on September 25th, in the minutes addressed the matter to be discussed was a long-term lease agreement with Monarch Energy. Monarch Energy apparently deals with hydrogen. There's blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen, and green hydrogen. I don't know how much information you people know about hydrogen. There's a lot of things up in the air. It's a dangerous, actually. So I do not know what's going on with them, how much forward the city's going on with Monarch Energy to get this plant into place. I heard permits are already in place, so on and so forth. I have heard nothing about it. The public needs to know that this kind of plant is going into around our city. Affects us out there where the plant's going to be built. Also affects the city as to the type of energy that they're going to be providing if it is ever put in. Needs a lot of looking into. That's the other issue. One issue that I have never got resolved or revisited on was when we had the residential problem with the tomato plant. If that ordinance or that zoning was ever revised and put back to the original use or not, I do not know. I've looked, can't find it. I don't know where to look, I guess, so I'd like to know if that was put back to the original use and the residential part taken away.
Was that about the people
Where they
living out there?
they wanted to put residents out there for their workers, right?
Yep.
That was 2018, I think, somewhere around there, so it goes back quite a ways. And also, I haven't seen any videos of our council meetings. I think the last one video was 5/23/2023, which was planning and zoning. An actual video of a council meeting was 01/09 of 2023. Up to that point, the videos were pretty consistent until 08/08/2022, and I don't know if you're having video problems or what, but I haven't seen a video.
They're under the live tab on our YouTube channel now because
They're not on where you go under videos on the city
They're
council
not,
And
page.
go over to the side.
and we don't organize that. YouTube is in control of that, but I understand that
Okay, well,
anytime they live feed, they're under the
I don't-
live tab.
Haven't seen one, and I don't know where else to go to look. And
Yeah, I
so-
did notice when we started live streaming that they were showing up in a different place.
Okay.
We can help you with that too.
Okay. And then one other thing is, we had to do away with plastic bags or get charged 10 cents a bag. Is the Brush participating in the plastic bag program or the county?
No, it's brush.
Brush, so you're getting 60% of 10 cents for every bag that's purchased. Do we know where that money is going to be directed to?
I think we've made a final decision on it.
Okay, well, there's
I can give you-
options as to where the statute
Right.
states to how it's supposed to be spent.
Right.
So I was curious about that, and it would be nice to know where that money's gonna be spent. That's all I have.
We will have someone from staff get back to you
Okay.
and
All right.
address your questions.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Anybody else? Okay. Next we have a public hearing for a special use permit. So I will start by opening the public hearing. So I'll have Tyler do his report on the public hearing. So we are open.
All right, well, good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. Good to be before you once again. pull this open real quick. Okay, very good. All right, so tonight before you is a special use permit request at the Brush Business Park. Black Thunder Investment Properties LLC is requesting a special use permit on Block 2 of the Brush Business Park replat on North Custer for mini storage and outdoor storage. And more commonly, and for clarification, through this report, the requested uses will be referred to as self-storage and RV and boat storage. We recently had a similar, almost identical special use permit request come in, so this is going to be almost identical to that one because it's real close to it and same zoning, a lot of the same requests. So if it sounds familiar, that's probably why. So the location of this property, right across here is Industrial Park Road, Highway 71, Colorado, right here. And so this is not the entire property, but just the southern, roughly third property or so that they're looking at. And this is all zoned industrial. The one on the left is the whole property, and then the right here is the zoning itself. So the subject property itself is 27.44 acres located on the north side of I-76 between East and West Streets, Industrial Park Road and County Road T, and between North and South Streets, Highway 71 and County Road 27.5. And as I mentioned, zoned industrial. Recently, the property owner had requested to vacate the right-of-way on North Custer and North Cameron, but upon recommendation from the city attorney, a temporary access agreement was executed between the property owner and the city, allowing the landowner to begin development on the property within a certain scope without the requirement of constructing the roads to a city standard. And the full agreement was attached in the staff report for all the details on that. And instead, construct a private road on North Custer to a lesser standard that would serve the use of storage on the site. So the intent of the applicant is, if approved for the special use permit, to prepare approximately 8.5 acres of the property for both mini self-storage and covered boat and RV storage with access off of North Custer Street. The plan is up to 16 buildings on concrete pads, which would be constructed in phases based on the speed of demand. The building sizes, there would be 8 of them that would be 30 by 180 feet, 4 of them 50 by 150 feet, 1 50 feet by 180 feet, 1 30 feet by 150 feet, 1 50 feet by 300 feet, and then 1 50 by 440 feet. The interior road material would be crushed asphalt. There will be 24-hour access and an on-site office. The entire facility will be fenced in, and there will be coded electronic, a coded electronic gating system and a camera system and proper lighting throughout the property. And we'll come back to the site plan here in a little bit. So our land use code lays out all the specific guidelines for the special use permit themselves, breaks it down into those 6 different categories there, what it is, the process, all the considerations for council, conditions involved, if they need to be revoked, and then the timeline as well. So the first one, it's only allowed within it's only allowed within, I lost my train of thought here. Essentially, the special use permit is given by city council and is determined at your discretion whether or not they meet all the necessary qualifications for a special use permit, and council has the ability to add any type of conditions that they see fit, as long as the use being requested is not negatively affecting other properties in various ways. Next part is a public notice process, so that's the notice that was published, the notice that went out to the surrounding neighbors within 300 feet, property owners within 300 feet, and then the on-site sign itself. And then these are the 3 elements here that council gets to go over for the criteria. So the compatibility of the use with adjacent uses and adjacent zoning districts, conformance with the comprehensive plan, and then the applicant's history of zoning compliance within the city. So the first one is the adjacent uses. So to the east is vacant property that's zoned commercial. To the north is vacant property, also zoned industrial. To the west is primarily vacant land with some outdoor storage at the rear of Fairbanks Equipment or Flat River Ag. To the south are offices, and industrial spaces for a variety of organizations, including Northeast Colorado Association of Local Governments, or NECAL, the Brush School District, and Buildings by Design. And then adjacent zoning to the northwest and south is industrial, and to the east is commercial. The industrial zoning itself, our city code states the purpose of industrial is to provide a land use in which industrial and manufacturing operations may locate as a permitted use when their operations do not constitute a detriment to the public health or welfare by reason of smoke, radiation, noise, dust, odor, gas, glare, vibration, particulate matter, or water pollution, and to provide a location for industrial and manufacturing operations by special use permit when the operation is such that by reason of any of the foregoing, it may not be appropriate in the particular location in which it chooses to operate, or it may require certain safeguards to be appropriate. And that last little statement there would be relevant to this one. So the proposed use may not initially seem to quite fit that full description of what industrial zonings are intended for, but nonetheless, our code does state or list both mini storage and warehouse and outdoor storage as permissible through a special use permit approval. So the last part on there is the use impacts themselves. So that goes over one, traffic generation. So this proposed use is going from no use to this, to the storage. There will be, of course, an increase in vehicular traffic, though infrequent given the type of use being requested. There are no concerns with traffic generation itself. However, improvements to the roadway are required as part of the temporary access easement to accommodate vehicle traffic, including emergency services, which will be included through the permitting process. As it pertains to noise, there's no concern with noise out there. Lighting, adequate lighting does need to be demonstrated. They mentioned in their letter of intent that they do plan to have adequate lighting, but that'll have to be demonstrated both on-site as well as at the entryway as well. There's a street light at the corner of North Custer there and Industrial Park Road, but then you have the stretch of the property, the vacant property on the corner, which is, I think, 300 feet, and then the access point to the proposed use would be roughly, I'm guessing, about another 100 feet or so. So it's about a 400-foot distance with no continual lighting, so some kind of lighting will need to be there for vehicles as they come and go from the property itself. Parking requirements, the proposed parking shown on the site plan has 3 spaces, which satisfies the requirements. However, I should have that up in front of you guys for reference. So, yeah, as a reference here, I'll go back behind me. So here's the property, the vacant one on the corner I was talking about. So Industrial Park Road is about here. So coming up, then here's the access point. So with the parking, they do have, looks like 3 proposed parking spaces, which is sufficient. One of those will have to be an ADA parking and meet all the necessary requirements per the code. And these are all the different buildings on site here. This is done over a layover on top of the topography map. And so with that, they have all the stormwater moving across the property and then coming down here and collecting in the southeast portion. I don't know exactly the phase itself, if they're just going to do these 3 or this one, but the applicants can speak to that and then determine going from there. Then the last part of our requirements is just general negative or deleterious effects, to be specific to our code, on any adjacent uses and properties, and I don't have any concerns with that. So when it comes to the next part, which is conformance to our comprehensive plan, the following listed there are all applicable to support this request, which strategy policies there. It falls right in line with our comprehensive plan. And then the last component is the applicant's history. So aside from the temporary access agreement, the only other exchange that the applicant has had with the city was regarding property that Mr. Danielson became the owner of within a residential subdivision called Rosewood that was established in the late 1990s on South Railway Road, east of Brush Meat Processors. That subdivision has since been purchased, replatted, and absorbed into the Brush Meat Processors, or BMP subdivision, as part of the property. Before public improvements were completed, the original developer of the Rosewood subdivision went bankrupt in 2000, but not before the beginning of a fourplex, the construction of a fourplex on one of those properties, which ceased mid-construction, likely due at least in part to the uncertainty of the subdivision at the time.
The city ended up settling with the bond company for the performance funds until 2003, and Mr. Danielson eventually became the owner of the partially constructed fourplex property. He was in communication with the city to try to continue the construction on the fourplex while discussing with the city the public improvement requirements. Resolution for the construction requirements and public improvements to finalize the subdivision were never reached, and ultimately the fourplex was raised and the property, as stated, is now part of BMP's property. The last couple components of things is just talking about City Council's ability to impose conditions on special use permits. And then City Council can also revoke the special use permit if any of the terms aren't upheld by the applicant. And then also the length of the special use permit. It can be personal with the applicant themselves, run with just a location, or be transferable upon any terms and conditions that council does determine. So staff's conclusion on this: the temporary access agreement approved by City Council just a few months ago was structured around this requested use. So we had discussion about this already. So although the approval of that agreement implies room for this request, this special use permit review also includes specific elements of the functionality of the site. In other words, the temporary access agreement does not automatically give approval for this one, because now we're looking at how the site's going to actually work. So this use is a good use for the site and will provide a service to the community area. This report would indicate that the requested special use permit sufficiently meets the requirements necessary for council's consideration, though several items will need to be addressed, which are listed in staff's recommendations. So we recommend approval for the special use permit request for mini storage warehouse outdoor storage with the following conditions. 1, if the conditions of this permit are not completed within 1 year of the council approval, this permit shall be revoked and considered no longer valid. 2, road improvements and site development shall meet all the terms of the temporary access agreement executed in August of 2023. Number 3, a building permit and necessary subsequent city approval shall be obtained for the storage use as described in the site plan provided for this report. Any approval of variation shall be at the discretion of city staff. Number 4, all applicable building code requirements shall be met. 5, a lighting plan and landscaping shall be submitted and approved by city staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. Number 6, a Knox box or other emergency access to the building, or site I should say, must be installed on site and approved as required by the fire department. Number 7, a visible privately maintained road sign that is acceptable to the city shall be installed on North Custer Street. And number 8, this approval is to remain on the property and be transferable to future property owners. And if council wants to go forward with the request, then we will prepare a resolution documenting all these different findings and conditions of approval. Any questions?
Tyler, has the fire department reviewed these, like the road access and
The
ability
road,
to turn and everything with their equipment?
the road access, you're talking about the material?
No, just
Okay.
the privately maintained road going in. Have they had a chance to look at, like, if their equipment can get out there?
I sent this, I'm like 99% sure I sent this to Tad a number of months ago, because we got this originally quite a while ago. I never heard anything back if I did send it, but if not, of course, I can follow up.
Isn't there an existing road out there already?
It's gravel, right?
I'm pretty
Gravel?
sure if they can make it into a river bottom, they can make it onto that.
Yeah, it's just that dirt road there that's not
Those are
really
rural
maintained
trucks, though,
very
not city trucks.
So I have a question about the Knox box, because that was going to address a question I had before you got to it. But does that also apply to, say, police if they need? Like, let's say a person goes into their storage room and a couch falls on them, and they're by themselves, and they need to be able to call. I mean, obviously fire would get called for that too,
Right.
but police is usually there before the fire department. Does that include access for them?
Do you know the answer to that, Brandon? Do you guys typically have a key or access to lockbox? Or Knoxbox, I mean?
At this point, Ebenezer, some of our old age homes or assisted living places do have boxes that we have access to.
Okay. That would be, I think that's a fair concern, because law enforcement's always first, because they're on, right? Whereas volunteers have to come, so law enforcement's gonna get there first. I think it's a fair concern if something falls on someone, if they're gonna be able to get into a gate. I love that it's gated, but that's just a question I'd like to see answered.
Sure. I think the condition talks about emergency access overall, so I think that would fall in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And have the applicants been made aware of the conditions?
No. Well, they are now because they're sitting right
They're
behind
sitting
me.
right behind. They will have an opportunity to respond, so.
When it said the lighting plan, is that lighting plan just internally or out on the?
It would be for both of those, yeah. So the access, the roadway there, I haven't seen any lighting itself, so I don't know what it's gonna look like throughout the site, but we definitely want adequate lighting here as well at the access point too, as people are coming in and out, which would be typical for a road anyway, people coming and going for safety measures.
We can give the applicants a chance to present.
Okay.
Thank you, Tyler.
I mean, it looks good to us. We don't have any concerns.
You don't have anything else to add? Okay, very good. Do we have any members of the public that would like to add anything? No? Any final questions from council?
I have a question from the applicant. With the phasing of it, do you know roughly what that might look like?
My game plan is the first 3 buildings across the front, the smaller units, and then to the north and south. For the RV and boat, we'll probably do 5 on each side just to get it started. And then if they rent, then we'll keep building out.
Tyler, this might be more for Dale, but I know right there that on the bottom left corner, that's the old Flat River Ag, in the bottom left-hand corner, right? And then the road in front of it, Dale, do you maintain any of that at this point, or?
That particular road, no. However, with permission from Flat River Ag, I believe they might have been the ones who improved that. I'm not sure who actually did improve it, but we do use that for training on the motor grader to lay gravel roads as a matter of training as well. So it's a good opportunity for us to get somebody with some stick time and learn how to maintain.
So, but for snow removal, potholes, all
No,
those,
nothing of
I
the
think it
sort.
just needs to be clear who's gonna be responsible for what.
Yeah, in the temporary access easement agreement, it gives the Danielsons, they are obligated, it states in there to do maintenance on the road through that portion.
And can you go back to the slide with the conditions, please? Never mind, I just found it. I was like, I couldn't find it. There's a lot of papers in our packet today.
Did you have any more questions, Allison?
I guess I would just, since they just heard about it, I'd like to know how the applicants feel about the conditions. But I know you guys haven't really had time to review it.
Yeah. I don't know, lighting is not gonna be an issue. Each building will have LED lighting on it, so you can see your storage units and stuff. And on the back side, once it's all built out on the front and back, there'll be lighting on the back of that. And then you'll have your fence and stuff, so that way there's security all the way around with lighting and stuff.
Is 1 year reasonable if we're not completed within a year, or is that just starting what all the conditions to give us a year? So we may not get started.
It would just be these conditions here, so as you're, obviously the site's gonna be phased out over time.
Yeah.
Right.
But, right, so as you're fulfilling them, if you don't get started with anything, or you guys don't get a Knox box in place, let's say within a year, we don't get a road sign up. It's a pretty basic stuff, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I don't see anything on here that would be.
I mean, it won't all be built out in a year, that's for sure.
Correct.
But, I mean,
But at least
we'll
that
have it
first
all
phase.
graded correctly out there, and then fencing will be put up, and then the buildings will install, and then we'll road out front, get to it. It'll be all done, and then coming in, that'll be all crushed asphalt and stuff. And then we'll just have lighting at the entrance there. Probably a couple lights there. So that quite so well did.
Right.
I guess the only thing that I would add then lastly is just, of course, a visit with the fire department and to make sure that they can, because every different structure has different requirements and what they need to do, and they need to be able to review that. So that's the only thing that I would add as I know you've got the Knox box on here, but.
And the engineer did take that all into consideration when he did it.
Right, what I mean, especially with like a volunteer department, right, the guys that aren't on and see stuff every day is, and luckily we have the assistant chief here in the house today, but like a review once it's built or as it's being built, so that they have the ability to know what they're getting into before they get called for a fire, so that they can go straight in and do what they need to do. That should happen, of course, and I think it does with most new construction, but I know it's private, but at the same time, I'm sure you want it protected too.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I think this is great. Thank you for answering all my questions.
Right. There is nothing else, so we'll close the public hearing. And then we can look for a motion.
A motion to close the public hearing first.
Do I need a motion to close it? Oh, okay. Oh, did you move? Okay. A second?
I move we,
Oh.
what are we doing?
I'm just moving around.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Counselor Tyree,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, now we can look for a motion for action on the special use permit request.
I move that we approve the special use permit application submitted by Black Thunder Investment Properties LLC on Block 2 of the Brush Business Park replat on North Custer Street for mini storage and outdoor storage. Uses referred to as self-storage and RV and boat storage, with recommendations from staff.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Tyree,
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom,
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin,
Yes.
Counselor Garrell,
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. All right, that motion passes. Congratulations. Okay.
Are you just excited to talk, Dale?
Yeah, Bill, she was wanting to move it along, so
Yeah.
now you're moving it along with us tonight, I'm warning you now, so.
Next is a Farm North Lease Award, Mr. Bill
Okay,
Corwin.
thank you, Mayor, Council. With our current Farm North, that is our wastewater biosolids application site, and our long-term tenant, Don Leonard, with Don's Hay Service, is retiring. And as such, the lease will become available starting March 1st of 2024. And with that, we're trying to realign some of our farm leases a little bit better to accommodate farming practices, because a lot of these farmers are now trying to plan for years ahead, for the next year ahead. And so with that, with his lease that is going to expire on March 1st, we wanted to get out ahead of this and get it ready for other area farmers to have an opportunity to take over the farming operations at the wastewater facility. With that, we advertised for bids. We sent out a total of 8 packets, and we got 7 responses, which is really, really good. With that, we opened up the bids on Friday, and we had bids that ranged from $15,050 clear up to $22,006.50. And in which case, after we reviewed all the bids, the high bid was from Maverick Seawald at $22,006.50. And in talking with some of the other area farmers out here, they say Maverick's going to be great for us. He'll do a good job. One of the things that we really like to take into consideration with the Farm North lease is that there are restrictions that go with that farm. So this is not just a regular City of Brush farm. We have agronomic uptake rates that we have to meet with the crops that are being grown. Of course, being a biosolids application site and the type of biosolids we put on there, you can't grow food crops. So there are certain restrictions that these farmers will have to abide by, and every last one of them was aware of these restrictions. But Maverick, they say, is going to be good for this particular farm. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so. With that, staff is recommending that we award the bid for beginning on March 1st of 2024 to Maverick Seawald for $22,006.50. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No, pretty straightforward.
All right, then I would look for a motion on that one.
Move to award Maverick, is it Seawald?
Pardon?
Seawald?
Yes, Maverick Seawald.
I move we award Maverick Seawald the North Farm lease agreement for March 1st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Lindstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Clint Cameron?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Garrell?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, that passes. Thank you, Dale. We'll move into finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for October 10th, 2023 through October 23rd, 2023, totaling $570,939.82. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Clint Cameron?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Garrell?
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, next we have, we'll start with Joanne, the department head, 2024 capital improvement.
Yeah, the second part of presentation of our budget to council will be the department heads presenting what they put in a request for their capital outlay for 2024. They actually do a 5-year capital outlay, but at this time, all we present to council is the 2024 requests, and then the budget retreat packet will have the 5 years of all of those in it. Okay, and there is one extra that I handed out to everybody that we missed getting into the packet for Brandon.
Okay.
And with that, I'll start out with Brandon.
Good evening. Good to see you all. It's been about a month since I've been back. So for our capital outlay, I had a few different projects I'm looking to get approval for. In front of you, Joanne did provide the one that was set aside and I forgot about. It is a capital project continuation that Chief Boss had put in place. It is for a continuation of the Senate Bill 2217 compliance. That was put in place to get new body-worn cameras and continued unlimited storage from Axon for our cameras and our digital storage. The request would be for continued improvement for that. That would be the third of the fourth year of the contract, totaling of $28,000 for 2024. Any questions?
I have a question. Do you have an issue with redundancy when it comes to the storage of what the body-worn cameras?
Redundancy?
Like you have to have stored in multiple different places, or how interviews are taking place within the precinct as well as outside, or there's multiple officers in the same interview, so you're having to keep storage for both cameras. I'm just curious.
I guess I'm understanding the question.
It's okay, we can take it offline and I can ask later.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Yeah. Maybe by then I'll have my words in the right sentence order.
It makes sense, that way I can wrap my head around it. Next is going to be another request for level 3 soft body armor and body armor carriers. Body armor panels themselves typically expire after 5 years. The bulk of the police department is due to expire next year. With that, we've also been using vests and carriers that we've had in stock for officers that have newly come on, so they don't have a new form-fitted one for them due to cost and just new training and rotation. So we're looking at trying to get everybody outfitted at one time, get everybody on the same page. Commander Hosier, who you guys all saw last month, did do legwork and talk to U.S. Armor, who is the one that fabricated all the ones we have currently, in a total of $18,500. That would include carriers and vests for everybody on patrol, as well as our CSOs, because we felt it very necessary to have them have armored as well, just because of they deal with unpleasant people as well on occasion, so. Any questions?
Do they recycle the ones that you, like, do you turn them back in and they recycle them, or what do they do with the ones that expire?
It's been my experience, we just keep them on hand.
Just put them
We've
back in.
used those in other areas, i.e. some for training, others for, we use some armor in our MRAP to kind of pad some of the more open opportunities for damage and stuff like that.
Okay.
Primarily anything we kept, we just keep on hand.
Okay.
Next item, so we're currently using body-worn cameras. It's been my experience so far, the more video you have, the more opportunity to record things off, the better you are for evidence. So we were looking at also adding on Axon's in-car camera system, which they identify as Fleet 3. This would be on top of the body-worn cameras as well. It's just an in-car camera system. The reason we went with Fleet 3 from Axon as well is it's not only an in-car camera, but it's also a license plate reader, all-in-one unit. They showed us a demonstration of it. Very great system. There's no external cameras, so no issues with debris. I've been aware of other agencies that have used external cameras that the cameras end up getting dirty because of bugs, etc., or any kind of inclement weather. Having something like that, it's inside the car. The benefit of it is all the storage is in the same thing. So we already have unlimited storage with Axon. So the funding is just primarily for the hardware, and it doesn't include any increased storage because we already have unlimited storage with them. So any camera footage from the car would go into the storage we already have on hand. So total, so that particular project is on a 5-year cost. This is to currently outfit the cars that we have on hand. So it would be $12,220 next year to outfit 4 of our cars. The plan after that would be to any new unit that we would get, we would just include that in the upcoming budgeting and add that onto it as well. So. Questions?
Are those inward facing as well, or no?
What's that?
Are those inward facing as well, or just outward?
Ask me a question, fortunately. I can't recall. I think they have at least 2 or 3 cameras you can add. They do have a build out to where, you know, they have the camera itself, the computer unit itself, and then you can build out on top of that to have extra cameras. I think they have the one for the front, one for the back, and I think they also have an interior prisoner camera, as you call it. Questions?
Brandon, just
Yes,
a little
sir.
history is when first we start having the discussions about the cameras, the body cams and everything, a lot of us were very opposed to it, and the chief at the time didn't want to have more stuff for you guys to have to deal with. But then it's come in so useful so many times. I think it's been a good thing, and I don't know how many times we've had questions whether law enforcement, the trash truck, or other things that Dell has to look at. We've got different cameras, security at some of our facilities. You get more of the story all of a sudden when you get it on camera, so it's actually helped out quite a few times, and so it's been positive.
Yeah, I think even just a patrol guy, I think you kind of get short-sighted because it is extra work, it is extra things to keep an eye on, it's extra things to review for reports, etc. But the little bit of time that you do on shift to take care of it may very well keep you from having to have to get off on a day off to go into court to testify to something because they have the camera and they have footage to take care of it. So, sometimes having more video is better just for the whole picture and just makes things a little easier and smoother, especially for prosecution purposes. Any other questions? Derek Ross started our drone program for the city of Brush, and I have seen it grow and expand. So part of a capital project for us would to get a more advanced, more capable drone. The current drones we have are decent, are good quality, but I found some in personal use for them just on scene on different calls. I've found them to be a little lacking for things. So one of the drones we've been reviewing and taking a look at is called the DJI Matrice M30T. The T's thermal, I can't remember what the M is for. It's a $15,000 drone. I have found it cheaper now, but capabilities for it far exceed anything we have, and I think if we get a more capable drone, it would help expand our drone our drone program within the police department. We currently have 2 different operators who have their their FAA licenses, so they're certified through the feds to be able to fly these. I think it's a good opportunity for us to continue to grow. Our current program we've used for reviewing a fire scene. When we had that fairly decent tornado a few years back, we used that to review some of the damage. We've had that as well. Unfortunately, we did catch a trespasser on a property in Brush that we ended up getting prosecution for him. We've also been extensively using it for the SWAT team, where instead of sending an operator into a house to clear, we'll send a small drone in to go in and clear the building instead of sending a person in there in a potential hazardous situation. We've also used exterior drones in the same standpoint to review properties, get good imaging for the SWAT team in order to be able to set up an operation to get an idea of placement, entry, and different things like that. So this particular drone has increased capability from what we currently have. It is a little bit more expensive, but I think it'd be very beneficial for us as well. So.
In what capacity is it, increased capability?
I think just more, I think part of it was we haven't had a lot of staffing, so now that we actually have 2 operators and more people to be able to get opportunity to have extra stuff. So I know being able to push out to the sheriff's office, state patrol, Department of Wildlife, if we have something on hand, we can very well also expand to other agencies and offer our assistance if need be.
Sorry, maybe my question wasn't clear. Like, how is this camera better than the one that you have? Is it because it has a clearer picture?
Correct. Yeah, so currently the ones we have, I believe, stop at 1080p, which is decent quality. This one here actually has a 4K camera, so a lot more pixels, a lot more viewing capability. The zoom on it was very, very impressive. The demonstrations I've seen just online, the zoom is very, very, very helpful in the event that you can't get as close as you possibly can, but being able to zoom in was really beneficial. The thermal camera we do have on one of the drones, the one on this one is considerably better than what we have available. Okay. And again, it is more expensive, but you're paying for better quality, better technology. So.
Cool.
And we work in a lot.
Continue to have access to the ones that you have.
Correct, we still have them. Like I said, the one I'm looking at is a little bit bigger, so it would definitely be more of an exterior operation, and then we still have the smaller ones for interior ones as well. If anybody has an opportunity, look this up online. There's some pretty cool videos for it on YouTube, if anything else. Next, we're requesting approval to get another patrol vehicle next year. Our fleet is slowly but surely starting to rotate around. We're down to one 2014 that we need to replace. It's getting long in the tooth, and it is getting a little worn. We've had to put some money into it the last few years, so hoping the opportunity to be able to replace it with a new one next year, that we don't have to continue to throw money into repairing it. The vehicle we're currently been using and getting used to is a Ford Explorer Hybrid. We've got those the last 2 years in a row, and that's kind of what we're looking at. Due to inflation costs, the current value I've been informed about was the car itself is going to be $48,000. And then current quote, or most recent quote from our outfitter at Recreation Electric, put total outfitting at about $22,000 to include all the emergency equipment. So based on some increased inflation for 2024, I'm requesting $75,000 for a patrol vehicle. And again, the project summary you have in front, it would be a build out for the next few years to get at least one car a year to help continue to rotate through vehicles. Any questions? The next one, labeled in-car computer system upgrades. This is a carryover from a project that Chief Boss had put in place. The police department is currently working with LexisNexis to get in-car e-citation stuff. So this year 2023 was the first year to get the software built up and get half of our cars outfitted with e-citation printers and the software and computers on top. This project is half this year, and then next year would complete the $26,750 to outfit the remainder of our cars with the hardware as well as getting the software installed. So.
That's the end.
That's it.
That's it?
Any questions about anything? Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Next, we'll have Lance Schwimp with the cemetery, recreation, parks, and the golf course.
All right, on page 8, the first one is through capital reserve and also through the foundation. We are needing to do some improvements within the kitchen and the banquet area, not the banquet area, but the bar area. We are wanting to go to hardwood floors there or perg floors. Right now, the carpet, with all the golfers that come in, they track in mud all the time, and we've had to shampoo those several times, and those can be pretty pricey. So we are wanting to replace that with, like I said, the perg floor. And then we also have a prep station, refrigerated prep station that is in need of replacement in the kitchen. And just to overall, just to repaint the inside of the banquet room and also the bar area. It's got quite a bit of nicks and everything in it. And this winter would be a great time for us to paint that up. So that is one, and like I said, the majority of the funding would be requested by the Joslyn Needham and Pettis Foundation. The next one is more of a want than a need, but our parks and our cemetery crew would like to get another Kubota in their fleet. It is very, very handy within our parks and cemetery, getting to job sites and everything like that. A lot more handy than a pickup. And it's just, in this past winter when we had all the snow, having to plow is easier to plow our trails and all that sort of thing. So it's, like I said, do we need it? Probably not, but it does make our job a little bit easier and more efficient for the crews from the parks and cemetery. Number 10 is something that we are needing greatly, and that is locks and cameras for our maintenance buildings, our restrooms, and other facilities. This past year we had a lot of vandalism. We had a lot of break-ins and theft, and our cemetery trucks got hit twice with the catalytic converters and everything like that. So I think by putting in some additional cameras and some on some of our restroom facilities, various automatic locks, we might be able to hopefully prevent some of that vandalism and theft. So that is something that we are looking into and kind of at our wits' end with some of the vandalism and theft and everything like that. I know it's going on everywhere, but anything that we can maybe try to get an upper hand, I think would be valuable for the city.
I think we just talked about the value of having cameras.
Yeah. The next one is the cemetery, South Cemetery fence. A few years ago, we replaced the front area with the wrought iron. Then we replaced that side by the alley with the wrought iron fence, and the back that kind of borders Centennial, it's still chain link. It is very worn. It doesn't look all that great, and so it would be nice to be able to match that up with the wrought iron fence. And so that is a request before you today. Also, it is pricey, but they do last a long time, so it would be something I doubt I would ever be coming back for. The next one is Capital Reserve Fund, and also through the Joslyn Needham and Pettis Foundation. We want to reshape and enlarge our driving range tee box. We were starting to get a lot of use out there. One bad thing about our driving range is that it actually points not where the grass is, but it points opposite, and a lot of times balls are being hit into Cambridge Street, all the houses. We get a lot of complaints because just the way it's pointed, if you don't line up right, several balls that went over there, and we've hit houses. Luckily, we haven't had any window damage or anything like that, but it does go over there. And we have gotten so much use that we want to increase the size of it. With a high school golf team, with as many people that go out there daily and play, it's hard to maintain that little area that we have right now. And this would fix that and really provide a really nice driving range for the facility. Next one is the Pettis Park Tennis Court. This is a project that we kind of talked about this past year. The high school has a high school tennis team. We've talked to the school. They might have a property that we could put a tennis court, but I don't think there's a lot of momentum with that yet. But for us to maintain our own court, there's a lot of foundation problems that are the major issue there at Pettis Park. And so to make it a playable, competitive area, a whole redo would really need to happen there with at Pettis Park tennis courts. It is a pretty large request. Of course, we would go after the USTA grant. We were going to ask the Java Needham Foundation. There might be some other grant opportunities out there, but it is a very high dollar project. So I wanted to put it out there because if there is some other funding mechanisms, I think it would be great to get it, because we have it. It's part of our property, so something's got to be done with it eventually. And so it's there before you today.
Liz, sorry, go ahead, Dana.
Sorry. Would that still just be 2 courts, or would you be able to expand it to 4?
That would just be the 2 courts.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just the 2 courts there. It is super expensive, and I just don't know how to cut that cost any to make it more reasonable, but it is a
Do
pretty
we have
high dollar
space
amount.
there to expand it to 4?
You would have to cut down those trees. That'd be the only way, those big pine trees that are just to the west of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Okay.
And the school has shown no interest in helping at all, or?
You know, they when I went to their school board meeting, they felt that they would give us the property by Beaver Valley to build tennis courts, but you know, that's another option and stuff. But it was not financially. They didn't really show any interest in giving money. The next one is a lowering device for the cemetery. Our lowering device is several years old. It's starting to slip a few times when we're lowering the caskets into the graves. It is also, we are getting at times a couple funerals in the same day, and it is nice to have 2. And we do have a second one right now, but it's not very. In fact, they try to completely stay away from it because it is so old and ratty. So a new lowering device would help the cemetery out, and then we could use the one that we currently have as a backup and kind of completely get rid of the other one. And then this is, it says maintenance shed improvements, but this is improvements around the maintenance shed. We just built the new maintenance shed this past year. One thing that we would like to be able to put is, we need to put pads for all of our fuel tanks, and also big retaining walls to hold our sand for the golf course. Right now, it's almost like a $500 bill every single time the delivery for our sand. So it'd be nice just to get our whole year at once, and then we wouldn't have to have a delivery charge of 3 or 4 times. So this would be, again, this is probably more of a want than a need. We will be requesting it primarily through the foundation, but it would be helpful, and it would cut down on our costs, especially with our sand purchases. The next one is kind of it should be probably 2 different capital project summaries. The spray rig and the workman vehicle, this would be good for the park, cemetery, and the golf course. It is just a utility vehicle that can carry the spray rig, and we'd be able to spray weeds, fertilizer, and all that sort of thing with it. And then below that is grinders. With the real mowers, you got to have a special grinder that grinds them. Right now, we have to send ours out, and it's approximately $3,000 a year to get them grinded. And so with these if we got a set of grinders, we would be able to pay for that in 6 or 7 years and they would last us probably 20 years. So the grinders would be very beneficial for us to have on site. The next one is a Sunset basketball court resurface. Now this one, the foundation is not totally destroyed, but we do have cracks in it. I don't, if you've ever driven by, you're starting to see weeds and everything else. So to make sure that this doesn't turn into like the Pettis Park tennis court, it's really important that we go through, get the cracks filled, and then repaint the basketball courts so that we don't get into the same position that we are with the Pettis Park tennis courts. So this is they're starting to show quite a bit, and this would enable us to have a lot longer lasting life with it. The shade shelters, all of our shade shelters, they're between 15 to 20 years old. We've done pretty good with them, but over time there's holes and everything else that they begin to wear, and you can only patch them so often. So these would be to replace the material for the shade shelters. All the posts and everything are still good. So this would just replace all the material for all the green shade shelters around our facilities. Then the next one is, we'll be talking about it more here later on today, but is the Prairie Trails Park Phase 1A. That would be we tried to do it last year. We actually put it up for bid. We had 7 contractors came into the pre-bid meeting, and then nobody bid on it. So we have, and I'll go into it more here in a little bit, but we do have it back out for bid at this point, and we have our bid meeting next Wednesday, our pre-bid meeting next Wednesday, and the bids are due the first week of December. So hopefully we can kind of get things going. A number of reasons, I don't know, why it didn't, why no one ended up bidding on it, but we do have contractors contacted, and they have it in hand right now, and hopefully we get better luck this time with this project. The next one is something that it just kind of came up during the Oktoberfest, and that's tables and chairs at the fire hall. The fire department always loans us tables and chairs, and whether it's for the chamber or for the city or for other different events. And over time those start to wear and break and all that sort of thing. So the city had talked to the fire department a little bit and said, hey, why don't we put it in for a capital improvement request, and then that way when the city is, because the city and the chamber uses it more than anybody else, so but we have a built-in storage area and that sort of thing. So this would actually purchase an additional 30 tables and 100 chairs. And so Greg Mayers had been talking to Tad Anderson about this, so this is before you for the tables and chairs at the fire hall. And then the final one that I have is the columbarium niches. We are quickly filling up the columbarium areas, niches that we have. The prices are starting to go up and up, and so we felt if we could get these purchased now, then we don't have to go to the consumer and start raising their costs for these because they're only going to get more and more expensive. It may be out of the question to do 2 of them in 1 year, but maybe if we could do 1 this year and 1 next year or the following year or something like that, try to keep the cost down, because they are, I think the first ones I bought way back when were $25,000 or $26,000. Now they're double that. So
I guess I don't know what a columbarium niche is.
it's when they put cremains, you put cremains in
okay.
that area right there.
Okay.
Yeah. So and I don't know how full are we with those?
We're completely full on the first initial 4, except for maybe half a dozen spaces, and on Iris we're probably a third full, and we just opened Daisy.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them are forward setting right now. There's a lot of them are
Not
just,
on Iris, but yeah, the big demand on Daisy, they're selling fast.
Yeah.
So
that's all I have. Is there any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Phil Kubrick, Sweetwater Trash,
Thank you, Mayor.
wastewater and stormwater.
The
first
was
item-
the expensive one.
Pardon?
You're the expensive one.
Yeah, I'm the expensive one. I'm not near quite the comprehensive list as Lance, I don't think, but I'm definitely on the more expensive side. The first item that I'm looking at is the installation of radar feedback signs. I'm looking to install 4 of them. That is to be have 2 on Cameron Street and 2 on Everett Street at nearby the intersection of the library. One of the Everett and Cameron Street intersection near the library. We've identified several issues with that particular intersection that has raised concerns, and so one of the things that we are looking at is giving people an opportunity to recognize just how fast they are going. One of the things that we will want to still conduct is a speed limit study in that area, just to make sure, because right now, anything unposted in the city limits is 30 mile an hour. And there has been some people have expressed concerns that that's way too fast for that particular intersection. And so if the radar, if the speed limit study doesn't recommend lowering it, then we would still have some sort of feedback. And these speed limit signs, they would be limited, so you're not trying to overclock them, because you get a young feller with frontal lobes not developed going to see how fast he's really going. So they'll overclock these speed limit signs. So we would have a limit on that. So it would, and this would also have a little bit of a flash that says slow down. These would be solar powered, so we wouldn't have to run any power to that. But I think this is the first step, or actually this will be a second remedial action for addressing some of the issues with that particular corner. And so Chief is just now back, and we haven't really had an opportunity to talk about speed limit study, but even if it doesn't recommend lowering it, at least we're giving that feedback. There's a lot of times people just don't realize how fast they are going. So
These are stationary signs, not the little...
stationary signs, correct. And so as they're approaching that intersection, it would give you what your speed is, and if it's over 30 mile an hour or whatever the new posted speed limit is, it would flash for you to slow down and get their attention.
I like that.
So
Can you give me an idea what the speed limit study, how does it recommend a slower speed limit? So like, if people are consistently going slower than this posted speed limit?
well, typically what you look at is the 85th percentile of how fast people are going, but that's not an absolute. I know that's how CDOT does it on their highways. So if you're, for example, I know a lot of people have talked about speed limit studies on 34, and if we agree to that, then they're going to set up radars to capture how fast people are going, and that 85th percentile of what people feel comfortable in driving is what they'll set it at. This is not necessarily the case of what we would do there. We have a lot more latitude in setting that speed limit at that particular intersection.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, because it might recommend it going up.
Yes. However, the nice thing about the speed limit studies, it gives us a lot more opportunities to take into account the local conditions, unlike, say, a stop sign warrant.
Sure.
It's pretty cut and dried, whereas speed limit studies give us a lot more latitude to do things based on local conditions. Okay, the next one is going to be a new asphalt roller. The asphalt roller we have right now has been around since the mid-2000s, and it's really kind of a small asphalt roller. We can only do some smaller patches, and so we are looking to want to increase the size of that, get a larger asphalt roller, get better compaction on some of the patches that we're doing in and around town. And hopefully a lot of these that you're seeing right now have been things in our 5-year plan, and they're just now coming around and rolling around to the dates that we're anticipating. So the next one will be to replace the 2016 Dodge Ram half-ton pickup. It's of course going to be 8 years old by the time we get around to replacing it, and it's getting a few miles on it. And when you're out doing street department repairs, they get a lot of use and wear and tear. Next item would be the purchase of another small pickup. This one would be used for the mechanic to run around in, typically when he's trying to go get parts that can't be delivered, and also for mosquito spraying. The thing about mosquito spraying is they set that mosquito sprayer in a pickup, and once you've set it there, you gotta keep it right there. You can't move it once it's been calibrated until the season's over. If you take that thing out and then reestablish it, then you have to have it recalibrated. So we have this small pickup that we've been using now for 21 years to do mosquito spraying, and it's seen a few miles. And so we're looking to get it replaced as well.
So would this be could one of them still be used for mosquito spraying, so you don't have to take it out so the mechanic can use it, or?
The one that we
just
got that's
replace
21
it?
years, well, no, it's okay to drive down to the hardware store or to the parts store to get parts.
Gotcha.
You know, because we're not mosquito spraying during the day, and so
Yeah.
it has a dual use to it.
And it can be driven just around town with the mosquito sprayer in there?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Next, we move on to the water fund, and this is replace the air conditioning unit over at the booster pump station. The booster pump station's air conditioning right now, because they have variable frequency drives which generate a lot of heat, same with these large motors. And with that, the current air conditioning unit is actually inside the building. And what we're looking for is a split unit that will have the heat exhausted outside the building and the AC on the inside. And so we're looking at about $17,000 because it's going to need to be a very large ton unit in order to help keep that very big building cooled down. Next one will be our ongoing fire hydrant replacement. With this is an ongoing project that we have for 2024, and we've had it in the past, and we're moving forward with it again next year and years into the future, is to replace some of our older fire hydrants. We're looking at 24 of them that we will want to replace with over the next 5 years. The next item will be replacing meters and upgrade our meter reading system, our water meter reading system, to a radio reading system. This here has been an ongoing project. We've had a little bit of a hiccup with supply chain issues in the last year, well, actually since COVID, in trying to get some of these water meters in. But we are upgrading. We got to replace water meters on occasion. Currently, the type that we have are mechanical. And believe it or not, water meters don't go faster, they only go slower with age. And so part of our water conservation effort is to get more accurate meters to the consumer so we can actually measure what they're truly using. But then on top of that, these newer systems, these newer meters, they actually have a data logger in it. So if you have somebody that says, hey, I just use 10,000 gallons and I got this, I don't use that much. What's happening? We can go out there, download their data, look at it and say, oh, okay, every 5 minutes in the middle of the night, you've got these little peaks and up and down valleys, which indicates to me you've got a leaky toilet. So we can help identify to our water customers why they have such high water bills, or if their sprinkler systems are coming on when they're not supposed to, things along that line. But eventually, once we get all these meters replaced, then we'll also be able to upgrade to a radio read system, whereby which we could just drive around, and instead of having to go and walk to town all the time with 3 guys and such. Next one at the water fund is the replacement of a 4x4 utility pickups. We try to rotate those out about every 3 years. We drive them out to the well field as well as to water breaks and everything else. And just like with the street department, these are heavy-duty tasks that we do, and we need very serious duty vehicles to help keep them reliable. In addition, we just now got our vac trailer, and so we'd also be using this new utility vehicle to pull that vac trailer, something a little bit beefier and more horsepower to drive that thing around, pull it around. The next item will be a forklift. I know the water fund has put in for that. Seems like lately anymore, the water department has been using the forklift more than the street department. And the current forklift that we have, it is due to be rotated out in the street department 5-year capital improvement plan. However, the forklift that we got is really getting old. We bought it used back in 1990 something, and it's been rebuilt way too many times, and it's getting to the point where it's probably not the best piece of equipment to use. And so we want to get something a little bigger, because it seems like every time we try to offload anything anymore, there seem to be heavier and heavier loads. So the water department is asking to replace the forklift, and it would be used amongst all our different departments as well. Next item is a well field radio upgrade. One of the functions of our well field is it is controlled by radio and a computer, a supervisory control and data acquisition computer. And as such, we use radios to communicate back and forth between the well field, the tanks. We also use this to monitor some of our industrial users like the cogen, the Bison facility, the Lamb facility, as well as our lift stations. And so anyway, these radios, after a while, they become obsolete. It's programmed obsolescence. We are currently using Motorola's, and the particular model we're using are what we call MOSCADs and MOSCAD-Ls, and those are being phased out. They're no longer going to be supported. So if one of them decides not to start working, it's going to be a reactive replacement instead of a preventive maintenance replacement. And I know that's very expensive, but again, some of those costs would be split between the water fund and the wastewater fund, because both departments actually have supervisory control and data acquisition. The next one is one that I had seen before, and I just did get asked about it the other day, but East Eaton Street water main installation. After discussing it with the water department, the customers on East Eaton Street tend to have a lot of dirty water, and I think, Loretta, you can verify this as well, that whenever we get dirty water, which happens on occasion, it takes a very long time for it to clear up for these residents on these dead-end streets. The mains go north and south on over there on anyway, the mains run north and south, and the services run off the north and south roadways. So on Curtis Street, for example, the water mains go north and south, but the services down on these east, like East Everett, East Emerson, and East Edmond, some of those, they're very long service lines. And so whenever there's a problem, it takes a long time for the customer to have to flush that out. So they'd like to install a fire hydrant at the very end of these roads, and install water mains and a fire hydrant down on the end of these roads so we can flush these and keep them a little fresher.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
By them having to increase the time that they're flushing out the water, are they thereby increasing their usage and getting charged for it?
That is correct.
Okay.
Especially in the wintertime. In the summertime, you can always water your lawn with it. But
Right.
in the wintertime, if there's a dirty water incident, then it takes a very long time, yes, and it is on the customer to have to pay for that. So. Next item is a new water source treatment facility, and we have been planning for many years now, and it's now starting to come together for a reverse osmosis system. And this would be the building and material. This is a multi-year project. We are looking at overall net present worth right around $9.5 million. However, by the time everything is constructed, we're probably looking at close to $12 million. Just like one of the things that we look at is the next 50 years. What are we doing for water supply for the next 50 years? And currently, we are using our well field for all of our water supply. So not only our base load, whether it's throughout the winter or the summer, there's a base loading that we have to take care of. And then in the summertime, we really depend on that well field quite a bit more. As we pull harder and harder from that well field here in the future, we run the risk of actually pulling in some of the area groundwater into it and degrading its quality. And one of the things that we pride ourselves on is that quality. So the intent with the reverse osmosis system is to have an RO system provide that base load. So from whether it's January or whether it's July, we're going to be using a certain amount of water from that reverse osmosis system, and then we would use our well field for the peaking facility. And with that, we would actually, RO water is much cleaner water than what we're currently getting out of our well field, so we will blend it. The customer should not notice at this point. However, I will point out that this is not a cheap project, and it's very technical, but we have to start looking ahead. What are we doing in the next 25 years, 50 years for our water? And this will allow us to use a lesser quality alluvial water and instead of our pristine aquifer and rely on that solely. So, and I'll be glad to talk offline with any council members on any of that.
That's why Monty said you were the expensive one.
I'm not finished.
That alone is why you are the expensive one.
Yes. Well, we have looked at this financially, and Joanne, you can pitch in any time. But one of the things that we've done in the last several years is we raised our water rates with anticipation of this happening, to be certain that there will be some debt service that we will have to go after in order to make this happen. However, our projections have shown that we can probably recover from that debt service fairly quickly. So
That's good to hear.
yeah. Moving on to the trash department, they are looking for some recycling facility improvements. Currently, we have our recycling facility over here just south of the post office, and it is we have single stream dumpsters, and we have our cardboard dumpsters and our glass recycling dumpster as well. We are still getting some contamination, people cutting the chains and throwing in tree branches, furniture, microwaves, electronics, and stuff like that. They are still thinking, and garbage. They're thinking this is just where you get rid of your garbage, and this is not what the recycling facility is for. So one of the things that we are wanting to do is add additional fencing and some security cameras at the recycling center. That is to say, this extra fencing would not prevent access to it. It would just better channelize access into the recycling center. And it would also give us an opportunity to strategically place some cameras. So if we do get people who are, again, this is not meant to be punitive, it'd be more educational, that if we catch somebody that's constantly dumping something in it that they're not supposed to, we can reach out to them and say, look, this is not what this facility is for. This is only for recycling. And so what we'd like to do is channelize it just a little bit better with some additional fencing and get some security cameras and make sure that the bad actors know that they want to dump their TV set in the cardboard, that they know you're on camera. You're being watched. So. Now we're moving on to the wastewater fund. We are looking at cleaning out our anaerobic digester. This is what we use to ferment our solids. Again, just like we have our biosolids application site, the lease which came up this year. We apply biosolids to the farm north site, and when part of that biosolids generation process is the stabilization of solids that we generate in the wastewater facility. We give the poo to bacteria to grow and reproduce, we harvest the bacteria, then we ferment them. And it is this digester that we ferment them in. And at some point in time, we do get indigestible solids in there, such as hair and plastics. Even though we do screen everything, some of this stuff gets through. Anytime the wind blows and there's dirt and gravel that gets blown into the facility, it gets deposited in this digester. We typically try to clean it out every 5 to 6 years, recommended 6 to 10 years. And we try to also align and coordinate this cleaning with the rotational crop of whatever's happening down at the wastewater facility at the biosolids site. And so right now we're looking at cleaning it out because it is a very hostile environment, it's very aggressive, and we need to get in there and inspect the piping as well as any of the superstructures that are inside that digester. And so we are wanting to do that this spring. Next in the wastewater fund is emergency gas detection system. The probes with those gas detection systems that we had installed back in 2011, 2010, they're starting to fail now, and with that we need to be able to detect if there's anything like methane or oxygen deficiencies within some of these buildings at the wastewater facility, and so they're looking at a complete replacement of the gas detection system. They wear out, it's old electronics, and it's just time to replace them. Hand in hand with that are heaters in some of these buildings. They have to be explosion-proof heaters. They work pretty heavily in the wintertime because there's a lot of air exchanges in some of these buildings. And with that, we've got some heaters that do need to be replaced, a total of 4 of them at this point. Because they are explosion-proof, they are very expensive, about $4,000 a piece. The next one will be a non-potable water pump. This is what we use. We don't use potable water down at the wastewater plant for seal lubrication or wash down or anything like that. We actually use treated effluent from our wastewater facility and reuse it within the facility to help keep things clean, help lubricate some of the pumps and such. And these particular pumps, again, they wear out after time, and we're looking to replace them. In fact, we've got one now that has failed, and so we're only running on one pump, and we'll probably have to bite the bullet and buy one again this year, just because they're a critical component. Another one will be a spare rotary lobe pump. This is what we use when we're harvesting our microorganisms that we grow at the wastewater facility. We use a rotary lobe pump because it's better equipped to handle the solids. And currently, we've got 2 of these rotary lobe pumps, and but we do not have a spare. So if one of those 2 goes down, we're going to be limited into our operations. And so we're looking to get a spare one to sit on the shelf. That way, if one does go down, we can just replace it real quick. Okay, now we're talking money. Wastewater Fund is also looking at expanding its solids handling. The digested biosolids, or the sludge, dewatering, building, and press. With our newer enhanced, we've been running now for many years, almost a decade now, our biological treatment process. We do nutrient removal, and the nutrient removal tends to generate quite a bit more solids than what we are currently equipped to handle. And as such, that's part of the problems that we've had with our biosolids application site. We're trying to work around the farming cycle. At the same time, we're generating all these solids. And so one of the things that we're looking at doing is getting another fermentation tank or a digester. And with that, we're also looking at getting a dewatering process. And so with dewatering, instead of applying the liquid biosolids out on the site that we currently do, we would actually be making what is termed in the industry as cake. And so this is just essentially, it's a solid form of fertilizer, not unlike you would see with cattle manure or anything else. But it would be biosolids instead. Once we start making cake, then we can start expanding our biosolids application sites to maybe some of the other farms that we have, or maybe even some of the local area farmers' farms. Get those permitted, and then we can apply these biosolids onto other sites and not just be restricted to our one Farm North site with liquid. We are currently looking, earlier projections I thought was going to be right around $8 million, and now we are looking at a net present worth of right around $6.3 million. Next on the wastewater fund will be the replacement of grinder pumps. With wastewater, we are always dealing with abrasive material, sand and grit. It just naturally comes in with the wastewater systems, and they are hard on pumps, and they tend to wear our pumps down, and so we're looking at replacement of a couple of these pumps. Next is tractor replacement. This replacement, the wastewater tractor that we currently have, it's an older Kubota, and we use that for biosolids application. We use a spray trailer, and we pull it behind this Kubota. So when we're applying biosolids onto our Farm North field as a liquid, this is how we do that. It's that way we're driving a tractor instead of a semi on a farmer's crop. Moving on to stormwater and 2A, looking at Cambridge Street stormwater improvements. We've done a lot of work throughout the years, throughout the city of Rush, to help alleviate some of the local flooding that occurs during significant storm events. And this seems to be the one reoccurring intersection that has problems. And with that, we are looking to install or construct a new stormwater pond on existing city property east of the golf course, not to interfere with the driving range, but we could also make it a water hazard, you know? But there's quite a bit of property out there. We've seen several different designs that we could utilize to work around the proposed driving range improvements. And with this, we would also construct a new 60-inch stormwater main from the intersection of Cambridge and Emerson out to that particular pond. One is that been my understanding that when that particular development over there on the west side of town was built, that stormwater wasn't considered nearly as much as what we can look at it today. And so we get a lot of water, a lot of drainage basins all converging down on that one spot. And so the intent is to increase the capacity of intake in that area, as well as have the capacity in a stormwater line and a pond to take it to as well. We are currently looking at a net present worth of about $1.7 million to make this happen. And with that, I think I'm bankrupt. So,
Ballpark, Dale, how much money did you just ask for, do you think?
realistically,
Yeah.
oh, about 20 million.
Cut the check.
We can do it. We can do it. Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Besides, very expensive.
3.5 million for this year.
Yeah, for this upcoming year.
Yeah.
But over the next 5 years.
Yeah,
I
over the
think,
next
yeah,
5
that's a
years.
good
5
important
years.
distinction, is that, yeah, it's 20 million, but it's 20 million over the next 5 years.
Sure.
That's an important distinction.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
He was asking how much money I was asking for.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not just 2020.
You said 20, and I was trying to add it up, I thought it was 25, so we're good.
So, there's always the oh, by the ways that inflation.
I don't
You
think
guys
you're
gotta tell
allowed
people
any-
no, tell them out to Greedy Dale, that's what you.
Yeah, well.
I don't think you're allowed any oh by the ways. We'll save those for some other departments.
Sure, sure. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dale. All right, next we have Tyler Purvis, Community Development and Airport.
All right, Dale's 20 million, I'm like 0.1% of that. Just one request, we're looking to replace the inspector's vehicle. It's an old 2007. It's in the shop a lot, and we're having to rely on Dale's extra vehicles that they use occasionally in order to get around. So just 22,000, we're expecting to get at least 3,000 for the trade-in, so it's $25,000 vehicle replacement. So,
That's easy.
Where are you
Thanks,
finding
Ted.
that 150 for 22,000?
All right, Ted, we have Ray for the fire department.
All right, we have 3 requests. The first one, page 48, is the concrete around the fire training center. This will finish the construction around the training center for the control of potential contamination in the area. And our request is for $20,000, $12,000 for concrete, $3,000 for the grading prep work, and $5,000 for the oil sand separator. The second request is to replace our gas monitors and our thermal imaging cameras. So those particular items are about 20 years old. So with technology, they're way outdated when it comes to the technology and the capabilities of those. So we would be looking at replacing, initially it was 3 thermal imaging cameras. However, one has been replaced because we lost it in the turbine fire out at Cogen. So we're looking at 2 thermal imaging cameras and 3 multi-gas detectors, and that totals $36,925. And then the last one is to purchase a 40-foot high cube shipping container and a 35-foot wide by 11-foot high by 40-foot long container cover. So they make a system now that it basically looks like a Quonset hut top that goes on to the shipping containers, and then you can put a back wall and a garage door on the front. And so that will be
utilized to put the new pickup and trailer in to keep it out of the weather, along with any other vehicles that don't fit in the apparatus space, which no more will fit in the apparatus space because they're full. So with that, those are our requests. I don't answer any questions or give any updates that's needed.
So the, whatever it was that you lost in the cogen fire,
Yes.
do they get billed for that?
So, yeah, so we had 2 turbine fires out there within about a month and a half time frame. So the first fire, we lost 4 sets of gear. Fort Morgan fire lost 4 sets of gear. And then we lost a couple hundred feet of hose. So they were billed for all that for that fire. In the second fire, we lost 7 sets of gear, 800 foot of hose, and a thermal imaging camera. So they were billed for all of that as well. And because it was a bigger incident, they got billed for a hazmat incident, which we bill for apparatus hours and personnel hours. So I think the total bill, after it was all said and done, Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, about 65,000, 60,000, somewhere in
No,
there.
it's more than.
More than that.
70 some.
It's
70 some.
77,000.
Yeah.
And they also got billed for the ambulance.
Yes, and the ambulance.
We were billed for all of that, and they're in the process of getting us paid.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, so that's, I mean, bunker gear has gone up as everything else. Set of bunker gear used to be about $2,500. It's up to about between $6,000 and $7,000 now for a set of gear. So
What do you do with the contaminated gear?
throw it away.
Being that it's contaminated from a hazmat situation, is there like a proper way to throw it away?
So we had a company come out. They have a mobile truck that they come out and they wash it, clean it, and inspect it. And they're the ones that determine if it's has to be decommissioned or not.
Okay.
So it's the contaminants and everything are already out of it. So
It's just not safe to go back into another situation.
right,
Okay.
yeah. And then our command unit is currently out of service. So we got very fortunate that we didn't burn down the fire hall. So the fuse box on the unit melted. So at some point there was open flames. And because of the strike, you cannot get any parts. So luckily we have the Dodge pickup that we're utilizing as the command unit temporarily. So if you drive by A&R and see the command unit sitting there, that's why it's there. So Kyler was able to find a used fuse box, but it's determining on what else was damaged in the process of that fuse box going in. So, and then we go December 6th, 7th, and 8th to Sutton for our pre-construction meeting on the new aerial. That's all I have.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Miranda Beckford, City Clerk, Municipal Court.
I just have one, which is a carryover from 2023, the council chamber upgrades that includes the audiovisual improvements, technology upgrades, and then aesthetics. We were getting going on that in 2023, and then, of course, you know, losing Melissa had a pretty profound impact on my workload. So everything just pretty well got pushed to the back burner, and but we'll pick this back up in 2024 and make sure that this gets done.
Cool.
And Monty Torres.
All right, I don't have any capital requests. I just wanted to remind the council that it's a lot of information that you just received, and when we get to the budget retreat, or actually before the budget retreat, we'll get you a packet, and you'll have in it the annual spreadsheet that just shows everything all calculated up for you. And just realize that we can't afford everything that was requested, so next step is Joanne, after she gets a little bit more information, she's gonna come up with some numbers or range of where we should be comfortable with, so that we can still present a balanced budget, but also we have to follow our financial guidelines that the council outlined for us years ago. And each year, the council looks at those at the first part of the budget retreat. And the main one is our 3 to 6 months worth of operating cost, having that amount in our reserves. So we're want to make sure we have our reserves strong enough so in case an emergency comes up over the next year. So when we see this next, there's an approved column and a not approved column, and I'll have notes off to the side. And what we do is I'll look at the numbers, see where, I'll go back to each department head and talk to them, what do you really need, so we can get into a point where we've got a balanced budget. So there'll be another round of discussion with department heads, and we'll present something to council on what date is it?
November 8th.
November 8th. It's coming up fast. And then, so that's the next time you hear it. And also, one thing that sometimes happens is we might have discussions and all of a sudden someone says, hey, what about this other project? And then we might have at the last minute something else on here. Okay? So that's the next step.
Very good. All right, that takes care of the capital improvement presentations. We'll move on to staff reports. Let's start with Tyler Purvis.
All right, just a couple of items tonight. Just a heads up, carports have been very popular due to the storm more than likely back in June. And they've been a headache for us in our office on how to navigate through those with our setbacks and building codes, what's combustible, what's not combustible, what's permanent, what's temporary, what's this material, what's that material, how's it defined there and there. So it's like rolling our eyes every day trying to come up with one, because there's always, when we think we got it down, someone comes up and says, well, what about this? I want to do this. And so we're probably going to have to add a section into our code that really gives specific guidelines for carports alone, what we will and what we will not give room for, that kind of thing. The Board of Adjustment, one of the members there, Paula Petit, did give a resignation for the Board of Adjustment, so we'll be looking to fill that position. They don't meet very often. Actually, since I've come back, they haven't met a single time. So if anybody's looking for a easy thing to be a part of based on the last couple of years, that would be a good place for someone to roll. The last one is the Historic Preservation Board, just a couple updates there. Back in 2004, we had a property survey that was done. So that essentially identified a bunch of different properties that I think at the time those who were involved with the board wanted to know more information about, as potentially designating those as historic properties if the property owners were interested. So a lot has happened since then. To be designated as a historic property, you only have to be 50 years old. So technically that would mean if your house was built in 1973, you would qualify as a historic property, which seems kind of weird. That's how it's written. But we're looking at updating that overall, as well as putting together a strategic plan for the board, so we have some guidance more long-term. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Tyler. Chief Fleckstein.
Go again. So I've been out for the last month. So I first off just want to say thank you to all of my guys. If everybody's been aware, we've had close to 6 of us, I think, with paternity leave from June until now. So we've had a very limited number of guys covering a lot of hours. So they've stepped up amid vacation requests being denied because of obviously guys needing time off for new kiddos, including myself. So I just want to thank and shout out to all of my guys that have been busting butt and doing everything they can to make sure everybody's taken care of in town. So on top of that, I do also want to commend Commander Hosier, who I understand was here for the first part of the budget stuff. He did a fantastic job over the last month, making sure. I know he's stressed. Says there was a lot of sleepless nights for him, but from what everything I've heard, did a great job while I was out. So again, thank him for that. Currently, we are testing for a second cadet position. We're looking at sending 2 people in January. We have one that's already in place and looking at adding a section 1 hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks. We did lose Lisa Lebsock. She did resign from the police department last week, so we're also in the process of looking at hiring another CSO right now. So we're one down, so if if there's any issues with weeds and some of the ordinance and stuff like that, we are back to one person. Bill Zazenhaus has been doing a fantastic job. Still relatively new, he's only been here for a few months, so learning curve for him as well, but hopefully he'll keep the ship going until we get a second person to get his out. Also, I wasn't around for it, but I did want to relay, there has some been positive interactions between the police department and the school. I guess we've had a couple officers take part, and they did fingerprinting, kind of a community-based thing for Thompson. So we had some patrol vehicles, some fingerprinting for little kids, I guess was all the rave. We've also had officers going to the schools, eating lunches with each different class and stuff like that. So some great positive interactions with the school district. And I've talked to officers as well as far as how interactions with teachers and staff, and they said for the vast majority have been very positive. They said they have a few occasions where they'll have somebody that's still a little difficult and kind of heartfelt about everything, but overall, he said the vast majority of people are very, very receptive and appreciative of us that we're inside. So thought it was a good attaboy for them to continue to do that. But I just wanted to relay that.
The little kids love the sticker badges, the shiny ones you guys get.
Yeah, we actually just bought a bunch of new ones because we were always asked for them, but we ran out, so finally was able to get an order for them, and now we're giving them to high school kids as well. So we've been some high school
Yeah, they
kids
come home
requesting.
with them on, and they're all like proud of them. Even mine that lives here and knows you guys. I thought maybe just my exchange student, but even my kid, they thought they were great. So
Did you
thank
bring
for
us
that.
some badges, Chief?
I can get you some.
It's too late.
I would like to say on that, and this is something that was actually spoken about at the candidate forum with the incumbents as well as the, all of the candidates, that it's going to take time, and it looks like that time is starting to progress, and I'm happy to see that. So,
And I, being not directly involved in a lot of that, I know part of this being in my position was to dedicate on the police department doing everything that we can to mend any kind of wounds and show that it was just business, it was just work. I understand the situation, but do everything on our part to show that the school, that we're here for them, we're here for the kids, and do everything we can to make the relationship better.
happy to hear it.
Baby doing okay?
Yes,
Good.
he's getting bigger. His cheeks have definitely grown compared to the first pictures we took.
And Mama doing okay?
Yeah, she's good.
I'm sure she's
I've come back to
happy
work.
around for a month, but.
I said I was able to provide a month, and I don't think a month was enough time, because she's definitely left this morning and she's still dragging a little bit. So I'm getting a little more sleep than she is, but she's a champ. She's been doing it for a lot of years. So I can't speak too highly more of her. So.
Cool.
Very good. Thank you. Ray, Eric, with the fire department.
So we'll have a total of 5 new firefighters on the department in the last couple of months. So we just put 2 more through their physical agility test. So they came on board. We have 1 more that has to complete his physical agility test. So we're starting to get some new blood in, which is good. So they're all eager and energetic. So we're looking forward to those guys getting up to speed. We had some command staff changes. So Josh Strand went active retired. He put his 20 years in for the department and the community. So him starting his new business, he didn't feel he had enough time to be the training captain, so he retired. So Kyler Massey is now the training captain. So he's still on light duty from his accident that he had while on a deployment in New Mexico. He fractured his leg in multiple places. So he's got a rod. His leg's basically metal now, so he's working his way back. He is running calls just in a command structure during the day, so it's good to have him. And then Matt Gurrell moved up to lieutenant. So those are the changes.
I don't remember. Are we doing 18 and up, or did that never go?
So that still has not been finalized. The rule board, they okayed it. We haven't heard anything from the city on whether or not it's okay.
Oh, we were looking into insurance information, I think.
The liability insurance would have to approve it based on the age.
We're still working on it.
That potato got passed like 5 times.
2 seconds.
That's where we're at, other than the 2 significant calls at Cogent, so. That's all I have.
Very good.
Anybody has any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Lynch Wint, Director of Community Services.
I got the map for phase 1A, so I'll pass that out to you. It's pretty small. I can get you a bigger map too if you like.
Thank you.
Sir?
Well, this has been kind of a long process for our project and everything. I think last year, about this time, we started talking about it, and we put it up for bid early this year. Like I had said during my report for capital improvements, we didn't get anybody that actually bid on it. 2 contractors did come back to Chad Cox, who's the engineer of the project, and they wanted to submit bids late. We said that would be great, just because we wanted to get the ball rolling. However, they were also involved in the what's the project across by the high school building?
Oh, the North Point.
The North Point. They're also involved in North Point, and they just got too busy, so they weren't able to get a bid out to us. They're looking at it now. Like I said, there's also a few other contractors that have reached out, and so I feel a lot more comfortable that we will be getting bids this time. This went up for bid just this past week. Like I said, we have a bid meeting on November the 1st, and then we will take questions up to November 15th. And then we will be opening these bids on, let me find what day that is. What was it, Miranda?
I think the 6th.
Yeah, December 6th, and then hopefully we'll be able to come back to City Council on December the 11th. Again, just for your review, this first phase, it's actually phase 1A, is getting all of our water and sewer in, a couple of the gravel parking lots, and 2 usable baseball, softball fields that we would be able to utilize for practice. It wouldn't be like the full fenced-in area. It would just be the grass, the infield mix, and the backstops. And then once we get to 1B, 1C, we would be able to fill in. This will at least get us started. This will at least give us more field space so that kids have a place to practice. And then from that point, as the city gets money and as we apply for grants and other funding, we could kind of piecemeal the rest as we go. It is a pretty expensive project, and but this initial phase, once we get it going, we can take care of the rest as we have money for it. So,
Lance, you said 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah.
Is that total? That's 3 phases, or are there more than that?
Yeah, there's 3 phases. That just takes care of all the 2 southern ball fields with all the lighting.
On the 1A.
On the 1A, right. Yeah, the rest of it will be, because it's a 27-acre park, so there's a lot of other components to it. And I'm also submitting for a GOCO grant this Thursday for a planning grant that would plan the rest of the park. And GOCO really likes for you to get more community involvement and all this sort of thing before they dedicate additional funds to it. So this would include the rest of the trail area, anything we want to do in those other 2 spaces that we had originally put ball fields in. It could be anything depending on what the plan comes up with as we go forward.
I have a couple questions.
Uh-huh.
This Plan 1A, I'm assuming this little very faint rectangle is still the dog park?
Yes.
Okay. And then where the gravel parking is along Clayton, that's where you typically do the annual mud volleyball and a couple of other things?
Yeah, we have so many other areas.
You have
that we-
options?
Yeah, we would just move it.
Because I know that is a big recreational hit.
It is, but there is several other areas with just, even within the property, that we would be able to still do that.
Is there any plans in this to put in greenery?
That's just as far as just green open space?
No, like trees?
Yeah, there
specifically?
is. There's gonna be trees, throughout the whole project, actually.
Nice.
I could get you, the final, which would have the 2, 3A, all that sort of thing, it has the ornamental plan that has all the different
Okay.
trees and everything too. But yeah, there'll be a lot of plantings all the way around the park.
This
Can I
is-
have that conceptual design, get it to Loranda, and she can email it out to us.
Okay, I can do that, sure.
This initial build on the announcer's booth, is it prepared for a 360 view? Is that kind of what you're going for with the initial
Yeah,
build?
because it is after the plan. If we end up putting 2 more ball fields there,
Mhm.
then yes. If not, then it'll probably be just focused on these two here, because we won't need to have the 4-way
Mhm.
announcer's booth.
This looks awesome. So
Yeah, I think
excited.
it'll be a cool addition, and it's very, very much needed. I mean,
Yeah.
field space is at a premium right now, and this will be good for us.
Awesome. Lance, something I've brought up kind of jokingly in the past, but I've never brought it up to you. You know where I'm going. But now I'm curious. I've got a little bit of curiosity about a food truck court that maybe the city could build. I know this is ridiculous, but I drove by one. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. They allow food trucks to come in. There's seating for people to sit and eat lunch. There's a bathroom area for people to use a restroom. And we've just seen, honestly, a big increase in the amount of
food trucks
in the area. And if it's something like we could bring to Brush, to even around, tournaments or
Right.
festivals, whatever, I just think it might be kind of a neat thing to incorporate down in that area of town. So just something to maybe throw around with.
I wouldn't mind to write that down. I never, to be honest with you,
I've never thought of it either. I saw one
anything.
at like 10 o'clock at night driving through a town in South Dakota. So, but I'd never seen one before, and just seeing how popular those were, like during the Oktoberfest and.
Up in Fort Morgan at the old stakeout, they have food truck Fridays.
Right.
I guess they've been like crazy successful.
Yeah, there's just so many of them around, and I think if we can give them a place to centrally locate, especially because Brush doesn't, at the moment, have a whole lot of places,
Right.
For fast meals. It just might be someplace for them to kind of.
And they are popping up more and more. I mean,
Yeah.
you see them everywhere.
Well, brick and mortar is just so expensive
Yeah.
anymore, so it's given them a good option to bring a lot of. And I know there's some requirements for
Sanitation.
food inspection and stuff, where
Right.
they have to kind of have a location. So I just thought that might be a good place to
Sure.
make that a little easier. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
No. Nope, like I said, I never even thought about anything like that, so yeah, I'll put that in there. As far as other stuff that's going on within the department, I'll just do that now instead of waiting for later. I am having another active older adult meeting. It was something that we wanted to do, and then we kind of, after I talked to the Centennial, they go, we have a senior center and all that sort of thing. So I'm just gonna have more of an informational meeting on November 1st at 6:30 at the JC building, and just kind of brainstorm ideas of different programming and everything else we can do for the active older adult populations, and similar to what we did for the brown bag, but at the same time try to start getting more organized and maybe invite people from the Centennial area, just so that they feel like we weren't just leaving them out and all that sort of thing. But so that's going to be next Wednesday, the 1st at 6:30 at the JC. And we started youth basketball tonight, so that's going to get going, and we'll be running that through November and December, and just been busy. So, and we have started talks with the foundation for the annual request. So hopefully I'll have an idea of what they're gonna be able to fund here in the next few weeks, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Dale Ulrich, Director of Public Works.
I'll keep it brief, if you believe me. With the street department, asphalt plants are still running, and so our crews will be out still working some of the winter damage we got from last year, plus anything ongoing that does pop up. So keep your eyes out for work zones and give them a break. So they're still out there, they're still working it, everything's good that way. New water station is in, and but we're waiting on electricity at this point. Electricians are sometimes fairly busy these times of year, and so, or just that it seems like any time of year, and trying to get electricity over there, it looks to be a little bit more energy, require more energy than what we initially planned on, because it's got some heaters in there. We want to keep it nice and warm during the wintertime. But we hope to have that up and running fairly soon, and so hopefully big improvement for those that tend to come in and buy water at our water fill station. So look forward to having it up and going. And then tomorrow, meeting with Lance and DOW, looking at draining Doty Pond. Over the years, it's just increased in salinity. And and I don't know that it made it too difficult for other species to survive, but it seems to me somebody introduced carp in there, and so now it's a carp pond. And so DOW would like to be able to drain that out and clean out the carp. And so we'll be meeting tomorrow, so sometime in the near future you will see that being drained out. Okay.
Carp's not good.
I know people that can and need it.
It eats a lot of the other fish that they try to stock it with.
Oh.
It was the big thing, because they're trying to keep it stocked with some of the normal fish they do, but the carp just eat it. So.
Yeah. That, they're a great fighting fish. I mean, if you've ever gone fishing and caught a carp, you'll know they like to fight.
They're kind of fun to catch, yeah.
It'll give us a chance too to kind of clean up a lot of the cattails and everything in there, and if we need to put more fish habitat or different things out there, so.
Cool.
So it'll be good for us also.
So when you drain it and it gets low, will you let people go out there and kind of catch the carp just for fun?
I'll leave that up to DOW.
Sure. I think they would probably like that, because I think they plan on getting rid of everything.
I remember doing that a long time ago. They were draining a little thing, and we went out there. I think it was even at nighttime, and caught big old liver gizzards, or I don't know what. That was a whole nother lifetime ago, but I just remember thinking that was kind of fun.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dale. Joanne Gosling, Finance Director.
Well, after listening to all these guys, I've decided I need to grow another money tree. Not sure where. Well, I have one thing tonight, and that's just to remind council that November the 8th is our budget retreat, and hopefully everything will go smoothly, and we'll have a budget for that.
All right, Miranda Packard.
First, I just want to mention that I got a text about 6:30 that we weren't live, and so whatever of this meeting, if the entire meeting is not on our live tab, we're going to go ahead and upload the entire recording under our videos tab as well. And then just on elections, we're about 2 weeks out from Election Day. Ballots have gone out. We've had some come into our ballot box. I'm not up front anymore, so I don't see all of that traffic, but I did see quite a few come in today with their ballots, me being one of them. And then on our board vacancies, Tyler mentioned the Board of Adjustment, Paula Patty, and then we also have a vacancy still on our Water Advisory Board. So we'll probably get another push out there for that board at the same time that we're advertising for our Board of Adjustment. So that's all I have.
Thank
I have
you.
a quick question. Sorry to go back to Joanne real quick for the budget retreat on the 8th. Isn't that also the same night as the URA presentation and meeting?
That's the 15th.
That's the 15th. Okay. Thank you. I just needed clarity on that. Thank you.
All right. Dan Krupp, City Attorney.
Nothing to report this evening, but happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. And on to Doris.
Okay, a few different items. Since Jeanette's still here, I'm going to give a little bit of background on a few things. The Ducks Unlimited, just be aware that that still is moving forward. The meeting that was out there on the property, there was a series of meetings, other projects. This was one of them that the Ducks Unlimited were putting out to bid. So that was a contractors meeting where they were going out to look at each of the sites, and the contractors that were looking at putting on bids, they were able to ask questions of Ducks Unlimited, their engineers. But for Jeanette or anyone else who's interested, I think we still might have the PowerPoint from Ducks Unlimited. We can always share that to give you the latest update. It hasn't really changed much. Probably the main thing of our concern was just the raising the water table, and so they are going to be putting in some monitoring wells so we can watch that. And it's our agreement with them that if there's any significant rise in the water table, that they're going to have to stop. So that was one of the most important pieces of it for the city of Brush. Just give us a shout anytime this week, and we can set up a time to get you the Dale as your point of contact, the PowerPoint that shows the slides on that. The other thing is with Monarch Energy, just this last week we received the referral from the county planning and zoning. And so for anyone who wants that packet, you just go to their website, you can download the packet that they're presenting. And if the city council, if anyone wants that packet, you can either go to the same website, or we can email that out to you, because Miranda had emailed that out last week for the staff that need to look at that. And I believe, Dale, on that one, we might have got a request just to make sure there's a sign posted out there on the property.
Correct, I received a request today.
So it's out on the city property just south of town, and it'll be posted this week sometime?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay, super. We'll try to get a sign out there as well. Then also on the cogeneration plant, or the power block, I'm going to have to do a little bit of research, but I thought that the city council had not changed anything out there as far as rules to allow housing out there. I think everything stayed the same. It's industrial still, and so we'll double check that. If there's anything different, we'll let you know on that one. But I'm pretty sure, my memory tells me that temporary housing was not allowed out there.
Yeah, we did not.
Is that right? That's what I remember. So other things I wanted to relay, Tyler, November 15th is your meeting. Its focus is the URA, but there's going to just be a short discussion at the beginning, just bringing all the special districts up to speed on where we left off with Partnering for Progress. Some council members may have been here for that, but I want to give you a very quick history. Partnering for Progress, it was 2016 we started talking about putting this group together. March of 2017 is when we actually started the Partnering for Progress. And what that was is we just realized we're a small community, and sometimes it takes more than just one entity to tackle a large community project. So we started doing Partnering for Progress so we could all get together and start talking about what are the needs holistically for our community, and how can all the special districts, the city, how can we all work together to start tackling the bigger challenges. So remember, one of the city council's discussions on priorities is how to work together more with stakeholders and other groups. And so Tyler and I had a discussion about it and said, let's bring back Partnering for Progress. And where we left off with the Partnering for Progress was we had a series of meetings, and we came up with 5 focus areas. And it was housing, and this isn't, maybe not be the order, but there were 5 of them: housing, childcare, workforce development, recreational opportunities and things to do in our community. That's the way to encourage people to locate here and people to stay here. Then also economic development activities. And even though the meetings ended in 2019, and that was mostly due to shortly thereafter the COVID came about and we were having no community meetings anymore, a few years went by. Then now with that new priority of the city councils, we said, might be really good for us to get back together and start talking about where we left off, which is those 5 focus areas. But more importantly, we probably should talk about what progress we have made. Because even though we hadn't been meeting, we've still been working together in some situations with others to move forward. So in regards to housing, currently there's the North Point that was mentioned earlier. That's moving on. Over the last few years, the majority of, from Glacier Street to the west, those lots have either been sold or have been developed now. So houses have gone up. And then the Westwood subdivision, that one is also still moving forward. Tyler soon is going to be giving a report on where that is at, next meeting or two. And then also Central School is another one that is being developed as well. That's not too far away from getting their, I think it's going to be a temporary certificate of occupancy, or TCO, or one of the two. But then also with Armbard Development, you know, they have a future phase of housing out there as well. So those things are moving on pretty well. Child care, you know, we've put some ARPA funding towards some pilot projects with the school district and Kids at Their Best. So that's, we're hoping that will stimulate more discussions and maybe we can do a bigger project in the future. It was focused on the summer child care, plus also we're wanting to look into some possibilities of after-school child care as well. Workforce development, each of these areas we had like a work group that was supposed to work on it. And so with the workforce development, the only thing I'm tracking right now is mostly with MCDC, and I think it's called Route 76? Route 76, okay, route.
Just depends on
Which one is it? Yeah,
what part of the country
we
you're
came
from.
Yeah. So long story short, so it is root because it's about the younger generation, how to keep them here is the discussions that we had at the last meeting. And so that's sounding pretty positive. Lance talked about recreation and some of the proposed improvements he's making, as well as also the golf course has been a huge community success. It is expensive for the city, but we are keeping it going, and Lance is continuously making it a better facility. And I can't wait to see the first phase of Prairie Trails Park because we have talked about that for 20+ years. And so finally we're getting there. And then in regards to economic development, that's probably the area that has improved the most. And most recently we have had a tremendous amount of discussions, opportunities come our way with the Armbar annexation. That's going to be, in case you don't know, probably the last 30 years, that's the largest annexation that's taken place in the city of Brush. And in a safe way, we are doing it in a record amount of time, with Tyler working with the developers and the engineers on that, as well as Dale. Pretty soon we're going to see buildings going up out there, and we do feel that once you have the first 1 or 2 out there, it's going to grow a lot faster. And what's more important than that is there's other discussions of 2 to 3 other potential annexations currently. We just, as soon as others are ready to move forward, as well as the city of Brush on our own property, we might be looking at some other annexations as well. And earlier Dale mentioned his big project, and that's with the RO facility. For us to grow, we need water. And so we're going as fast as we can grow without having to acquire more water, but Dale's got his plan in place, and that's moving together pretty well. Some other things that I just want to have you aware of. So that's all of Partnering for Progress, but you'll hear a little bit more at the November 15th meeting. Yep. And then we'll start having actual truly coordinated meetings with all the different taxing entities and special districts. Other things that are very important is we're going to be doing a big push on the Brush Agri Park. So right now we have the solar, we have the Colorado land processors, and so we have other vacant lots there. We want to start pushing those this next year. And then also some really interesting news is for about 18 years I've been working with the cogeneration or the power block. There is an old agreement that we had with them about us acquiring some property that they have, some actual land. So that may be another annexation coming our way, but that's over 100 acres of property that was supposed to be transferred to the city years ago, but then key players out there left or were no longer employed out there, and it was hard to get movement on that agreement. So we did have a very productive meeting, Dell and I, with one of the main stakeholders there. And there's two things that we're going to be working on. One is renewing their water agreement with the city, as well as going to be meeting with Dan, because they said, let's get started with the paperwork on having that land transferred to the city. And so we just said, before we dive into it, we need a special meeting with Dan to bring him up to speed on all of this, because this is new news to Dan. So we'll have a meeting with Dan, and then we'll come to council, let you know what that progress is going to be and what it's going to look like. But two things: updating their water agreement, as well as the land transfer to the city of Rush. And the other thing I'll mention too is Dan Scalisi is in the crowd, and so I just want to make a comment that he did remind us that there was an old plan on a plaza downtown, and we found those plan sets, and I got a copy to the mayor as well as to Dan, and at some point in time they might want to present that to you, to a project that was out there years ago, and we hope to somehow get some momentum back with that. And it could be a good location for a food court, or food truck court. So so you never know, it might all come into play. So that's my report.
Do you want to talk about CAFO?
Nope. That's a you and I.
Okay.
Sorry. That's for you and I. Remind me tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Mayor and council reports. Do any councilors have anything they'd like to share?
I just have a couple items. I, of course, am the council liaison on the library board, and Laura does an amazing job of providing statistics at every meeting. And one of the most interesting statistics from this last meeting was the amount of use of the meeting space from outside entities. Within the last month, just in a month's time frame, they had over 30 uses that were not from the library's uses, and I thought that was really interesting that people are utilizing it. It's also, she can also provide statistics, which I can always share with you guys, on just the usage of the library in general, and it's really great to see that people are there and utilizing it. I did go to the school board meeting, and I shared with the school board about the Congressional Art Contest that Darlene Carpio had shared with me. She is the regional director for Congressman Ken Buck for District 4, which is our district. That is available to high school students, and I wanted to share it here as well in case there are some homeschool students that, because they can also participate. It's a two-dimensional art piece, and if they are selected, it will get to go to DC and get to hang, and the congressman's office will send them and their parents to go as well. So I thought that was really awesome. While I was at the school board meeting, Andrew Holder with Xcel Energy was also there, and he provided the school board with an update of information that I felt that we also did not know as council. And so I had specifically asked if Andrew would come and give us a presentation the same that he did the school district. So hopefully he will be scheduling that soon, and then we will have the same updates. And that's all I have.
Anybody else? Would you leave your contact information, Jeanette, so that we can make sure all your questions get answered? Maybe just afterwards, or write it on something on your way out the door and get it to.
Miranda has my email.
You have our stuff. Okay. Okay. And I think that should be about it. Alrighty, if nobody has anything else, we have to go into executive session. So we'll have to clear the room.
We need a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, do I need a motion
Yes.
first? Okay. So can I get a motion to move into executive session?
I move that we go into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes Title 24, Article 6, Section 402, and subsection 4A for the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest. The matter to be discussed is the potential sale of one property and the potential acquisition of another property.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Klinkhammer?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Garrell?
Yes.
Counselor Lundstrom is already down. Mayor Sherman?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
motion passes.
Sorry.
west end of the property as well.
Okay.
And so
There's a house right in the middle of it against the road, isn't there?
that's not part of our property.
Okay.
But that might be something we get a phone call on real soon.
That's
So,
fine. Yes.
Can you go for it?
coming back into our regular session, Dan Cobb needs to make his announcement for the record.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll note for the record, it's 8:35. I'm Dan Krob, the city attorney. We're just rejoining from an executive session. I was present throughout. The scope of the conversation was within the scope of the statute, and as the attorney-client privilege attaches.
And we don't have anything to make an action on or anything. So, I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll move adjourn.
Second? All right, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Aye. All right. Our meeting is adjourned, and we're gonna move into our work session.
Perfect. We'll try to make this relatively quick. 2 items. One